he talked about a few things, and he says right up top, and I think this is smart for him to say, and this is very smart for him to say. He explains why Vader and Palpatine don't make an appearance in season 2. I think it's very smart for people who are expecting, they're only watching it for that right away, ain't gonna happen. Andor showrunner Tony Gilroy has explained his decision not to include Vader and Palpatine in season 2 and weighs in on the surprise introduction of Yavin in the 3-episode premiere. Wilding writes, the first 3 episodes of Andor season 2 arrived on Disney Plus earlier this week, expanding on Cassian Andor's first year as a rebel and a mission gone awry after he steals a TIE fighter from the Empire. It's no secret that the series will lead us directly into Rogue One, a Star Wars story, by the time it ends. We don't expect the show to deliver too many cameos. Andor has never been that type of series. However, with director Orson Krennic making his return and plenty of political intrigue, could we see Vader and Palpatine? Talking to Rolling Stone, Andor showrunner Tony Gilroy confirmed he never considered bringing the former Anakin into the series. He said, no, that was never on my agenda. Writing for Darth Vader is really limiting. I've done it. He doesn't have a lot to say. We're sure not all of you will agree with that, but what of the Emperor? Could we not see him in the Senate? He was too big of a piece of meat for me to introduce. It was too heavy a lift. I thought about it at one point, but it was too heavy a lift. One of the fascinating things I realized when I started the show in the very beginning is how many billions of beings are in the galaxy. Nobody knows about the Jedi. Nobody knows about the Sith. It's just a tiny percentage of people. Oh my God, I hate that.
My plaque psoriasis was so bad, I couldn't get my hair done. My psoriasis was all over.
And
my joints started hurting.
Right now. Always with this site. 12 stories, and then starts telling me about psoriasis. One of the fascinating things I realized, it's just a tiny percentage of people that have any notion of it all. It's not in the culture. And I remember being really surprised as it was explained. The writer and producer was always asked about the surprise introduction of Yavin in the 3-episode premiere. He said it's a rebel hideout that certain people know about, the way pirates used to have a certain island or something like that. Cassian is a bit like Zelig in that way. He is not that he's invisible or anonymous, but he's in all these places where things happen. And no one had ever done the origin of Yavin. And that's the only thing they really know is that there were these beasts there. They're already in canon. The beasts are canon. I don't know. It just felt like a cool thing. Why not? The second season of Andor takes place at the horizon of war as war draws near and Cassian becomes a key player in the Rebel Alliance. Everyone will be tested and the stakes rise. The betrayals, sacrifices, and conflicting agendas will become profound. Andor sets the clock back 5 years from the events of Rogue One to tell the story of the film's hero, Cassian Andor, and his transformation from a disinterested, cynical nobody into a rebel hero on his way to an epic destiny. Destiny. Yeah. So you hear that, and you've seen all 12. Yeah. And I agree. I saw one of your tweets, and you didn't say which episode too. I would say that there's quite a few episodes that people are going to be just blown away by. There's one particular episode I think is going to be a water cooler episode that everyone's going to be talking about. But I was saying, John, I think like there's 4 arcs total, and I don't know where you stand, but like I keep saying this when bringing up Andor.
Yeah,
my favorite arc is the 3rd arc, which is not this week's, but the third arc.
That's my favorite.
And then both the ones that are coming up this week and the last 3 are tied for me. Like they're both excellent. 3's on another level. But I think that these next are pretty through the third arc is the best, and then these 2 are really freaking good and tied.
The 3rd arc is going to devastate the Star Wars universe.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about Stitch Fix. I know shopping's hard. I know it is. I found a much better way to do it, though. Stitch Fix, online personal styling, and makes it so easy. I'm not a shopping person. It doesn't matter. Even if I can figure out my size, stores never seem to really have what I need in stock. Then I'm not a crowds person. I'm not a lines person. I don't have the time for it. Stitch Fix, it gets you a stylist who understands your style, understands the size, gets the budget. They do all the shopping for you. So I just give my stylist the one that I have right now. I give them the size, I give them the style, I give the budget preferences. I order boxes when I want, how I want, no subscription required. And he just sends me for pieces, pluses, outfit recommendations, styling tips. It's awesome. I keep what works and then I send back the rest. It's very easy. There's no stores, there's no crowds, there's no stress. Just personalized looks that you're going to love. Stitch Fix makes it all so easy. And it looks like you know what you're doing too. If you're walking around, you go, hey, look at you, you're in style. I said, I know, right? And then I give Stitch Fix some props. Anyway, make style easy. Get started today at stitchfix.com/KHS. One more time, stitchfix.com/KHS.
I actually think the fourth arc is a bit anticlimactic. So
Really?
yeah, I was like, okay, we're gonna go this. And look, these are also the shortest episodes of the season. Those
the
three.
last, but it's also not really the finale. Rogue One is the finale.
Well, of course it is, and that's the thing. So you have to look at it with that in context. But in a vacuum of those three episodes, I found those to be the one I ranked the least that I enjoyed. Where I like this opening three a lot. I put it in the second slot, and then these next three coming up, I put in the third slot. And then the third three episodes are top, and by miles. By the way, it's an incredible situation. But I like what he did. I like that he kept Palpatine and Vader out of here. I like that he did what he wanted to do with where he was going.
And Palpatine's clearly there. You mentioned,
it's aware. Everyone's aware.
They're very aware. Like his presence is felt and then some. But it does show, and I liked. But that's the thing with this is why I really have become a massive fan of Tony Gilroy, because he doesn't pretend like he's wrong in the fact what he says there about Vader's like, well, Vader doesn't really say much. Vader says a lot, actually. Vader can talk about a lot of different things and generally chooses his words at times, but he could have full-on conversations, other things, but
talks a lot in the original trilogy.
Sure does. But he could if he needed him to, but not necessary for Tony Gilroy. But my thing with Tony Gilroy is Tony Gilroy has never pretended to be a major Star Wars fan. He's just a guy that saw some good stories in the content and said, well, let me take a crack at this. And he didn't shy away from, as he said, like what he said in about Yavin, when he goes, look, it's canon. There's stuff in there, and they brought it to me, and he listens. He's like, oh, and there's beasts on there, and no one's ever done the origin or before. I can do that. He pays attention to what's going on. He doesn't make up his own stuff, J.J. Abrams. And he does a bunch of different things where he actually pays attention to the collaborators around him. I would much rather a guy like that be in charge and doing. I would have rather him done the whole damn trilogy.
Oh my God! Please don't.
I know.
Of course.
I know.
I would have loved that.
I know. It would have been much better if he would have done the trilogy than anybody else. But
I know. The Pew Pew kids would be upset, but that's a trilogy. That's a trilogy.
So good. People don't realize, though, too, is that's the thing, is this story that he's telling doesn't call for, I mean, look, there's tons of battles in this thing, too. And people were saying, this is something I had curious about. I was like, where are all the aliens last season? There's tons of aliens all over the place in season. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. But there are certain stories that don't call for a lot of the, fantastical things that are happening in the Star Wars universe. In this particular one, it's funny because there was a book that came out years ago that's canon called Battlefront. It was based off the game, but it was Alexander Freed, and it's very similar to Andor season 2 in how like dark it gets and the battle, the soldier dynamic, and all those types of things that are happening. And no one that was reading those books, no one was ever said this isn't Star Wars. You can do a version of it down the line. Like this, with some of the layered, detailed characters. That's what I hope we get. I hope we get that down the line, and not just, I've mentioned it time again, but it seems like every volume Star Wars show is, what do we need to do now? Well, should we have a really good dialogue scene? No, cut that out completely. Let's make this episode 26 minutes, but it originally was 45. No, 26 minutes. What about do you want to keep the dialogue speeches? No, get rid of that. Put a monster, like a big CGI monster, and then they shoot the monster, and then do they say anything? One or two lines, like, oh, that was a tough fight, and then they can move on. Let's do that, okay? And it's like, that's the same show over and over. It stinks.
That's why I think I hope one day Leslie Headland gets out of that NDA and can actually speak and tell her truth about what happened with the Acolyte, because I have a feeling she wanted to make an Andor type show. And she didn't have the power like Tony did to go like, fuck you, I'm doing my show. Get out of here. And he didn't have the power. She didn't have the power to do that with them. And unfortunately, this is what you got with the Acolyte. But I bet there's a much darker show that she wrote and wanted to explore and put out on the screen that would have been a companion with Andor but in the end, that's not what we got. So. Yeah. I hate when people say it's not their Star Wars. I get it if it's not your Star Wars, but don't say it's not Star Wars.
It's especially if you say that after the first 3, I'm going to disagree with you. If you say it after the full 12, I'm going to think you're insane. If you say it the first 3, I'm like, okay, I get it. But when you see the whole thing as a whole, and you still, yeah. Anyway, what do you guys think? Put your thoughts in there. Let me know about the comments that Ian McDermott made, the ones that Tony Gilroy made. What say you?